So instead of as a marketer saying, well, here's another place to slap my ad up, it sucks, it doesn't work. There's other things in the world besides places to slap your ad up.
Hey, podcast listener, you're about to discover insider tips, tricks, and secrets to making more sales and converting more prospects into customers with email marketing. For more information about the Email Marketing Podcast or the Autoresponder Guy, go to dropdeadcopy.com/podcast. Hey everybody, it's John McIntyre here, the Autoresponder Guy, and it's time for episode 27 of the Email Marketing Podcast, where we talk about the top tips, tricks, and secrets for making more sales and growing your revenue with email marketing. Now today I'll be talking to Declan Dunn. This is the 27th episode, which means it's been 6 months since the podcast has started, and I'm having a blast. I hope you're enjoying it as much as I am. It's been fantastic to meet all these different people. Now, Declan Dunn is a very interesting guy. He's an email marketer, but he believes in social media, which is very different to most of the people I've spoken to. So today we're going to talk about how to get people off Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube and onto your email list so you can sell them stuff instead of just, get them to like and share photos and random stuff like that. So what we're trying to do here is get to a point where Facebook doesn't control your list, because if you have 10,000 likes and that's your list that you've built off social media, Facebook controls that and they can turn you off any moment they like. So in this episode of the Email Marketing Podcast, you'll discover the goal of social media. And it's not to sell the first person who you come into contact with. There's a different goal. We'll talk about some of the common pitfalls of social media and how to avoid them. These are some of the things that most people, some of the mistakes that most people make, especially smart people, when they start trying to advertise their business on social media. And we'll also talk about the time of the year, the best time of the year when people are most receptive to sales offers on social media. Because contrary to the opinion of some marketers that I have interviewed in the past, there are some ways to sell stuff on social media and some very good times of the year to do it. So we'll talk about that in a minute. Now, to get the show notes for this episode of the Email Marketing Podcast, go to dropdeadcopy.com/EP27. Now, before we get into it, I have one simple question from a Guillermo Lopez from Los Angeles, California. Here it is.
Hey, hello. My name is Guillermo Lopez. I live in Los Angeles, California. I find your podcast super awesome, and I would like to find out where I could find the first 16 episodes. That would be very cool.
Gear, that's a great question. Just to repeat that, it was where can I get the first 16 episodes of the podcast? Now, there are a few places. You can go into iTunes or Stitcher, and the episodes will be in there. The way to get it from dropdeadcopy.com is to go to dropdeadcopy.com. In the top menu, there is a link to the archive. If you go to the archive, every episode will be linked on that page. You can also go to dropdeadcopy.com/EP1 or /EP2 or /EP3 all the way up to episode 27. That's how you can get every single episode of the Email Marketing Podcast. That's it for now. Let's go talk to Declan Dunn. It's John McIntyre here, the Autoresponder Guy. I'm here with Declan Dunn, a long-time internet marketer from apparently 1995. They had the internet back then in the dark ages.
With horses got the emails there. Yeah.
It was like, internet by candlelight. For the past 3 years, he's gone on the ground. He's shut down his practice to outsiders so he can focus on high and inner circle clients. Now, he's got some really interesting stuff to share, and it's for local business people, because we're going to talk about a story about dentists. So this is going to get really, really interesting. It's about what a lot of real marketers think is a total waste of time, which is social media. I've kind of, complain about social media before. I know a lot of email marketers do it, but today we'll talk about how to use social media with email. So that'll be good. And as you'll find out, there is a way to use social media profitably, and it comes by mixing it with email marketing, as far as I know. So we'll get into that in a minute. How are you going today, Declan?
Doing excellent, and I'm psyched to be here. I look forward to not only talking about this stuff, but really having to, I think what a lot of marketers come from, and I'm old school. A lot of the guys are like, social media can't monetize it. And it's not necessarily accurate because it's more of a social layer and it's where people are connecting, which basically means if you're not there, your message is going to get further and further diminished. So we're going to have some fun seeing how we connect them to our world, because that's really what the goal of email is: bring them out of social into your world, your business.
Okay. Because what I've heard from a lot of people is that you go and drive leads on social. Everyone's on social to usually waste time. It's, they're being productive, and then they go on Facebook when they're distracted and they can't be bothered working. So they're not in that buying mode when they're on Facebook, but I'm sure we'll get into that. So before we get into all the social media stuff, though, tell us a bit about yourself.
Yeah, no, I've been I call myself a digital strategist, but I'm actually one who does things, who executes and sets up teams. And since I've been doing this in 95, I've set up my biggest pride is an online educational site based on storytelling that I've taught 50 million kids strictly by word of mouth, and the users generated all the content. That's been around 18 years. I learned from that how to do affiliate marketing, which is really JVs and partnerships. And I ended up building an agency where my little company in a very small town in Chico, California, north of San Francisco, let me tell you, we were managing American Express Network Solutions, running major affiliate programs and running deals with 60 million visitors a month. And what I ended up doing after doing that for about 6 years is really focus on a practice. And what I want to share here is it's all based on results. And I go into any business that I feel I can help, and I take a look at what their assets are, what they can leverage, and basically how to generate more revenue. And a lot of the folks I work with are also planning towards getting acquired down the road. So how to create the right asset value, how to create the right cash flow, and how to create the right user list and things that make that worth somebody else buying.
Cool stuff, man. Well, let's get right into it then. The social media stuff. Now, maybe give us a bit of a background on what's going on with social media and how, some sort of overview, and then we can talk about this dentist.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, because when I talk about the dentist, remember, these are people who are working in their business every day, never time to be in front of a computer. And we'll get back to that. But what happened with social that I think most people don't get, I think there's a big fallacy. Number one, going in there and you're making all these assumptions of why you hate social media, every single one likely, which is true, okay? But what you're ending up doing is screwing the whole thing over because you just want Google or something that can convert like crazy, okay? Google converts like crazy. Ironically, email converts like crazy. Not many other things convert like crazy. Social media, the thing it is people connecting, and now they have something fun to do. They're not just sitting in front of a PC thinking about problems. What do people do in front of a computer, John, right? It's not happy. And I'm a Mac guy too. It's never happy, right? Why do you think they think about problem solution? Because they're alone and they're pissed. With social media, they have this thing they don't think is a computer. Remind me of that when we get to the dentist, because that's the key. Okay. They don't think it's a computer. This is their impression. It's not a computer. It's a communication tool. And it's about them connecting with people and running through this mad amount of information and entertainment. Now, to your point, so instead of as a marketer saying, well, here's another place to slap my ad up, it sucks. It doesn't work. There's other things in the world besides places to slap your ad up. There's 2 and 3 step marketing. And that's what it's challenging, is that you can't even say, hey, fill in this form. That's a lie. These are people connecting. What you have to do, and to be really smart, is to use it as a lead generation step in front, totally set up ways that they can actually sort of raise their hands and segment themselves just by interests. But more importantly, here's the thing, John, I think most people miss with social media. They try to sell the first guy they contact. The goal is get the first guy to invite 5 to 10 guys. I work a lot with women. Women will invite 5 to 10 to 20 friends. Men can do this, but not as much. But the goal is for that user to invite 5 to 10 friends to check out what you have and to measure your conversion on their invitation, their traffic they brought there, see how much that converts. Because that's when this stuff goes crazy. Immediate conversion. They're not there to buy. They're there to connect. They're there to share. So you want them to invite their friends and then build little funnels off of that, off of social media, way off of social media, to drive them into your funnel. So
okay, cool. So it looks like we're using the power of social media as a connector to try and expand the audience, and then using the email to seal the deal and make these people buy something.
And don't expect big lists. I mean, I've had lists of 10 million. I mean, seriously, back in the day when you could make those lists, what I'd rather have is a really effective list of 50 to 100,000 that's exceedingly effective, and not brag about my big numbers to bring it to social media. It's a quality over quantity reality we're all facing.
Yeah.
Because it's much more about quality. I can get you quantity of anything, and most of it's just garbage.
Yep.
So when you're looking at it, look at social media as, and by the way, when I say social media, I'm talking about YouTube, Pinterest, G+ for search, tweets, obviously Twitter, Facebook is God. And then we can probably throw in Instagram and Tumblr. Now, all those, that's a lot of different, what I would call channels. What you want to do is, in my experience, is really obviously focus on Facebook first is what most do because it's the biggest. But you want to find out which one of those selections of those you can really optimize for, because most people try to optimize for all of them. And I just find out what works and then optimize the heck out of one of those and then move to each one to grow it. But don't expect to get all 6 or 7 of these social media funnels, responding.
Okay, cool. Well, let's get into this dentist then. The story of the dentist.
So here we are. I put together through JVs solely a list of 10,000 dentists, and there's only 100,000 or so in the U.S. practicing, according to the data back then in 2009. We were sending out interviews done by, and these guys buy training all the time. So this is something that, put it this way, it may not jump off the top of the world, but we should get consistent, steady open rates on our email and people responding and visiting our site and watching our videos and listening. And we weren't. We're getting in a test what you call absolute worse than zero. I mean, and worse than zero doesn't exist statistically. I mean, when there's nothing happening, something's flawed. Okay. It's not that you can't even suck that bad. There's always one person who'll say, well, I had nothing else to do and I'll notice you. Seriously, statistically, an absolute zero is almost an impossibility. So I was noticing, I'm going, I can't just test my way out of this. Let me think. And let me start, and here's the key I'll give you to everything. Ask a couple of your friends, but here's a real deal. Shut up and go act like the customer. Go ask your customers. They're the only ones who know, and they're always right if you ask them and listen and don't try to think up a way to fool them. So I went asking a bunch of dentists. I'm like, guys, no one's we're getting nothing here. Worse, this is a horror. We got 10,000 great addresses. And it turns out, I found out that 90% in 2009, 90% were seeing my email on the BlackBerry. When they clicked my link to the website, there was no browser. So that wasn't very helpful. And my click-through obviously wasn't very good because it couldn't even be tracked at that point because I didn't know.
Right.
And the number 3 thing is when they saw my email on their BlackBerry, they didn't think of it as an email. They thought of it as a social update. Their words, not mine.
Their words. Okay, interesting.
Their words, not mine. When they got stuff from Facebook, it started with Facebook because this is what you have to understand. Your email competition is not just marketing. And this is where marketers, I love them, but we're just so in a box. We get so focused at what makes you good, but what gets you stuck in times like this. Because when we're at that, we want social to be that world. And social media now, 40 to 50% at least of what people see in their email inboxes is updates from social media. So if you're not one of those people, because I don't just send them my newsletters and my e-zines or my direct emails, depending on what the business is, I want them wherever they love to be. I want them to get Facebook updates. And there's my brand with Facebook. Maybe it's Pinterest. Maybe it's YouTube. Most of us, it's really Facebook and YouTube, to be honest. Some people do Twitter well. It depends on which one of these you do well. But the updates, to bring it back, is what goes to your user via email. So they started seeing that and they go, oh, Facebook update, friendly, nice, not email. It doesn't look like a PC email. I started designing my emails to look like Facebook, ish, social media. You know what I'm saying? That nice look. Language is not pitchy. Language is open and inviting, but is not pitchy, is down to earth, and is very simple and usually has a killer visual because social media is driven by visuals more than the headline, guys. Hello. I'm an old copywriter too, not of your ilk, I would say. I've done a lot of copywriting. Yep. It's all about the headline, right? Not on Facebook. Visual props over headline. That's visual leads to headline. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. You got to make a little candy with your headline. You still need a killer headline, okay? But your visual is as important. So back to the dentist, once we realized they were all seeing these on BlackBerries, and this was really hard because I had audio content. I ended up just sending them. I put this magical word. I said, click here to go to the website because some people were on PCs, or download the MP3 because I use the MP3, which is an audio file. So anyone on any phone, anywhere, anytime could use it, right? No worries about translation. We ended up having our shows getting 500 average listens on a list of 10,000. That's listens. And we had one that got listened to over 200,000 times.
Wow. That's great.
And it's just simply because, and the other thing, when they're social, they're often mobile. The use of visual audio, I love audio because it's simple and it's easy for somebody walking around to listen to, right? It's not easy necessarily to always watch a video, and sometimes it costs you money and time to even do a simple video. So use the power of audio because it really auditory gets in their ear. And the nice part was they clicked it, they shared it. So when they forward the files, anyone could download the file. That's what I'm trying to say, is that made it like so key, and they loved our list because they didn't think of it as email.
So what you're doing here is, just to sum this up, is you collect all these leads from, say, advertising on Facebook or Twitter, and then when you send them emails, you got to make sure that the emails that you send them, look like and feel like an email coming from Facebook, because their mindset is, because they signed up when they're on Facebook, they're expecting an email from Facebook about it. And then, so you're linking them then to your website and then giving them this audio, or are you sending them back to a post on Facebook that they can share? I mean, what happens then?
I actually do both. It's a great question, because remember, what I'm trying to say is the Facebook user still sees me as the business the same, whether I do or not. And they see me, that I have to be on Facebook and I have to be in my world, which is email. So let me say they're Facebook. So I'm not going to, when I do my emails, I make them social media style. I'm certainly not emulating Facebook, but guys, just take a look at a couple of them out of there. Lots of space, big fonts. Okay. Do not use 12 point, 18 point, 22. Okay. Big fonts, a really killer picture if you can. Depends on your product, but be able to use that sort of style in social media. And what I'm saying also with Facebook, and I want to make sure I get this clear and maybe make an analogy to some of you who might use Gmail have noticed recently their inbox has been divided into 3 tabs. One is primary mailbox, one says social, and one says promotions. And it's just a new thing. And the reason I want you to think about that is because those are the 3 boxes, whether they're on Gmail or not, you users have. There's your primary box. That's where I want my email to go from me, my business. Okay. But there's the social box. So what I want, if this makes sense, I'm going to do updates connected to what I'm doing. My world's always connected, but I'm always letting the people on Facebook know to drive them in continually to come back and go to my page and sign up for an email. The people who are already on my email list, by their behaviors, will be going to Facebook, and they're going to ask me customer service questions there, whether I like it or not. So social is a retention channel, and it's a channel to get leads driven through. So the smartest strategy, what I'm saying is, you don't just hit them with your list. You use the social update as a way to prompt them, because the social update is friendly and can still have a link, by the way, to your squeeze page.
Yep.
You just make it a 2-prong kind of effect. So your social email, the style, the verbiage, it's short, it's sweet, it's smart, it gets to the point, where your email is obviously can be, you have a lot more flexibility because it's your world, and it can be, the way that you write it and the way that you deliver it, if that makes sense.
Right. Okay. So I've seen people doing these Facebook posts where, one guy that I know has a page in the diet market, and he's just sending out every day or maybe 4 times a day, he's sending out those motivational pictures, like a picture of a dude or a girl who's doing a deadlift. There's a nice quote like, you only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough, or something like that. And then asking people to share it. And in the post, he's got a link to his, join the family kind of thing. And that just goes straight to a squeeze page. And what happens is you got a whole bunch of ads to the page, and then everyone starts sharing it. So the whole page has grown organically. I don't know how, like 500%. I don't know how much.
Yeah.
And he's built a massive list of it.
No, totally. And you let it, because what it's good is building the big numbers. And Facebook is usually the best example because it's where I've seen the biggest numbers come, unless you're like a retailer on Pinterest. That tends to, like, women are all over Pinterest. Pinterest is owned by women. It's so funny. I mean, it is. And funny, in the UK, it's like really affluent women, and nobody knows why. It's just is. Yeah. But on Facebook, it's not only have more list capability. I mean, I've seen people doing this. You know what I'm saying? It's becoming somewhat a predictable behavior, which is a good thing for everyone listening. In other words, the users are not surprised by this. But what you do with Facebook is that you get them, most of these guys will do a combination of Facebook ads, a promo, get people talking, and really concentrate on what you can do to get people to share your stuff rather than trying to overwhelm them with like 10 hours of freaking content or a free report. Wow. You got to watch, because it's hard to translate. I'm an old school guy, okay? But I know that in the last 3 years, there's so much information being created that actually Eric Schmidt, the head of Google, said this in 2010, that every 2 days, the same amount of content is created as was created between the dawn of civilization and 2003. Yeah. Okay. Posts, tweets, all this stuff. I mean, people taking pictures. Yep. So you have to realize you want to get into them, and you want to use your social media is by purpose, visual, briefer. But what it is I love asking stories and finding their story, because I want them to come over to my site and I want to build the intention to buy. I don't assume it exists. My job in social is to sort of segment from a lead generation point. Are you interested? Are you qualified? Is this subject even interesting to you? And I do this on a continual basis, like your friend, putting in the squeeze pages, putting out, you can do like inspirational sayings, make it visual too. It's got to be visual to be noticed on Facebook. It has to, visual or video.
Yep.
And that's also when you get them on Facebook, just remember, coordinate that with what you're doing on your site, because so many people can treat it like almost like a separate site, almost like Google, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Like somebody that should be, is not part of their business, and their users, especially if they're women, forget it, man. They're living at Facebook. They're going to see you at Facebook much more likely than they'll see you at your website. Just deal with it and use it to your advantage. Stop bitching about it. This is what drives me nuts. That's the behavior. Shut up, do something, observe, right. Don't interfere, act. Be like an anthropologist. Shut up. Don't sit there and go, bruh. The more you listen to them, I'm telling you, I've done this with people. They double, triple sales like all the time because they never listen to their customers. They're just sitting here like throwing their crazy ideas. Use social also to crowdsource. So what I'm saying is ask the audience. They're smarter than you. And if you ask them open-ended questions here and there, they're going to tell you what they want to. They're going to tell you where they want to go. You don't have to guess. And that's the cool part.
Okay, so just to get like a big picture perspective, so you're going from an ad on some sort of social media, which Facebook, Twitter, something like that, that's driving to, say, your Facebook page or maybe an opt-in page. You're collecting those leads, and then you're sending them emails, which send them back to Facebook and to your website. But there's got to be congruence through it all. When does the selling come in, and how does that fit into the picture?
I like to do it in my follow-up emails. It's a great point too, because what I like to do is sort of like that visual of two paths in the wood. You're going to go left or right. So when I send them an email, there's going to be a left and a right. If there is left is sort of go back to Facebook and share this, okay? And this is for, by the way, the 80% who are going to do that. Here's the deal. 20% at most generally are going to buy. That's probably being real optimistic. So if you start shaving off the 80% who are just totally lost, don't even notice you and let them share. And what it is just putting up a path saying most people will be there. But what you're trying to do is identify intention. So, for example, with diet kind of programs are always easiest and work well on social. You can say, would you like to, go to this site and answer 3 questions to see how you can improve your health and your diet? Now you've actually said, I'm thinking about my health and diet just by the click on that link. And that, of course, leads into its own funnel. And you collect some data so you know that person might be interested in that type of diet or whatever you're pitching. In other words, you give them a path to go take the diet. And for the one who's not, there's another path to go share whatever you're sharing there. Does that make sense? So it's always sharing and segmenting and trying to, and doing this more on a persistent level. So it's funny. It's not about big spikes. It's about really getting this flow going where the leads are coming through and you're building up your volume in Facebook. But remember, from what I've seen, again, diet and dating may be different because they're very mass programs. But for most other people, it's not that Facebook doesn't send quality traffic. It's often the lack of quantity in their specific niche.
Okay.
So, it depends on what you're doing, but you need to be able to sift those leads. And you want to be, I've had a site, we just opened up a Facebook page and in 2 weeks we're at 8,400 likes and 5,000 emails.
Wow.
Out of those 8,400 likes, but there's a great affinity and we did a lot of marketing and a reason for them, give them a killer reason to be on that email list. Oh my God, more than a free report, like make them part of a movement, make them feel like that's why they go to social media, to feel like they're part of something, not to get pitched. And don't get me wrong, they will be pitched, but you can't, if you go there, it's like going into a room where people are socializing and being the weird MLM guy going, hey, what's your guy's phone service? It's sort of like chill. Suddenly bring them to the side. You can do it in a better way is what I'm saying. You can still get them there right, by getting them to constantly, your job on social media is a little content with a little lead to a page that will indicate interest and get them to opt in. And what you start doing is segmenting the different, niche markets you have.
Okay.
One man solution.
So someone's signing up to the list, and then every email in the follow-up sequence has a link to Facebook or another link, which will then segment them. And then if they click that link, they're automatically segmented, move to another list, which says, I'm interested in X, which could be anything. Could be an online product, like a dating site or a diet product. Or, maybe a dentist could do this. He's looking for people who maybe they have a toothache and they're on Facebook. And he goes and clicks.
They're huge. Yeah, it's local too, though. Local traffic is great for Facebook. God, Facebook can do one thing. It can do local.
Okay, so give me an example. Like if a dentist was to kind of set up using this strategy, like what sort of stuff would he be sending out on his page and in his emails to get people to make a booking? And that'd probably be the main thing, right? They have to make a booking. How would he get that with this strategy?
Yeah, on the standard dental thing, the standard from direct marketing perspective, the standard reward for going to in the U.S. for any dentist site is pretty much free cleaning or a discount on the cleaning or some service that you're doing that you'll guarantee. In other words, a reason for them to come visit you and actually choose you as a dentist. So it's almost like it has two levels. One is appointment setting, and that's a level of interest. Somebody really wants to go to a dentist. So it's the differentiation will be, do you want to set an appointment or do you just sort of want to sign up for our email list, which we can obviously give you information about us, do, our regular marketing cycles that we do. Dental industry is very heavily regimented in marketing. So, there's all year round, they have sort of direct mail and emails that they're going to be doing. So it's always email or appointment. And what you're constantly doing with your email list is you keep sticking in the appointments and you put around, teeth whitening, teeth cleaning. Do you got a cavity? Does your kid need to come in? You start testing the different angles. But what you're ultimately trying to do from a dentist's perspective is it's all about appointments. Setting and getting people to actually show up to their appointments. That's the holy grail, is that they actually, commit and come.
Right.
So you could send them to a page that could have like an opt-in with a simple email box, or set an appointment with some fancy little thing that would basically set up an online calendar and, get somebody to come in. And so in other words, the person setting up appointment is obviously way more interested than the person sending an email. And the person who signs up from your email list, I always suggest thinking of a few questions you could ask them to know if they'd be a qualified buyer, a qualified customer. Like a quick example, I did this once for a financial advisor. I had to get people from the net who had 100,000 or more in investable assets. So I asked their salespeople, how the heck am I supposed to know this? I'm just online, okay? It's like I'm only can ask questions on a form. And I got two pieces of data from them. They said usually they're over 30, because most people in the U.S. don't save when they're under 30. It's not universally true, but 90% of the time, yes. And they have a household income greater than $50,000. I don't want to encourage you to lie, and I want data that doesn't encourage you to lie and helps me qualify you. The other one was, is your household income greater than $50,000? Yes, no. I love yes, no's. I hate pull down menus, and it's so intrusive. They're going to lie to you when you do that. Who wouldn't? What's businesses of yours? What I make, it is, but and I don't need to know. Once you're over 50,000 in the U.S., you're probably 80. Okay. Yeah. And I'm good. But then we had great lead generation, driving people to meet them in the real world in a real store. And here's the most funny thing. They came back and said, man, it was great, except half those guys wanted debt consolidation advice. So what did we do? We added another question. Would you like help with debt consolidation? Boom. We sold just by putting it on the same form. We took the debt consolidation guys and said, I'm going to set you up with a debt consolidation guy, not an investment guy. And we took all the others and set them up with the investment people. Right. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about, setting up. I think of it just like forks in the road. Keep setting up. All you're going to do in social is forks in the road. Share, intention. Do something. Sign up for my site. Maybe even pitch your product. Because if you're around the holiday season at Christmas, you can sell directly anywhere.
Yep.
You can't just do it the rest of the year. It's November and December, and people don't get that. Like in the online, everyone's sales is like this, and it amazes us. We're so like year round that we don't realize. Any retailer, anybody with a real business would tell you their whole business is made or lost November, December.
Okay.
So you can sell. In social media, you can be usually a lot more open about selling and not get as much blowback if you do it during the holiday seasons, because they're used to getting pitched like wherever they breathe.
Right. It's all over Facebook and those places anyway that time.
Yeah, and they're going to be marketing to your customers anyway. So, but our goal, what's really funny is, ironically, obviously we want to get them off Facebook. We do never want to have a Facebook page that's not constantly trying to get at least half, and I want more than that, but at least half that audience onto email, because you just have no idea. This is not against Facebook. It's reality. Just wake up. They've shut down sites. They've shut down sites that have done great stuff. Their job is not, you just want to make sure. Remember, Facebook owns your page. You don't. That's all.
Right. I think that's one of the key takeaways. And that's what a lot of people, what a lot of marketers, that's their problem with Facebook, is that you don't own it because people aren't in that buying mode when they're on Facebook. It's kind of like this. The first goal of having a Facebook campaign or a Tumblr or a Twitter or whatever campaign should be to get them off that site and onto that email list as soon as possible.
Well, and just remember that not only do you get them in email updates, but here's the key that most people still haven't wrapped their head around mobile and what that's going to turn into. For good reason. We're all figuring it out. I'm not trying to act like we all know it. But I can tell you one thing that's true, and this is pretty much worldwide, but I'll just say for the U.S. to be safe. They live on mobile. They live on Facebook. They live on YouTube, Pinterest, Twitter. Those are the apps that they actually use on mobile. That's it. They might play games and do stuff, but I can guarantee you when they're traveling around, they have the Facebook app. You know why Facebook stock is up over the price it went for IPO when everybody said it was like destined for failure? Is because they've optimized mobile in the last year and a half. And what it means is when you're doing email, I always tell people that not only will you be sending them email, but your status updates and your page updates, that's going to their mobile phone if they're on Facebook, on Pinterest. So those, in addition to email, those are your updates that aren't like email if you're seeing me, but it's part of my messaging. I want those noticed because that's where they are more than half the time, guys. And it's not going to change. It's going to get worse. So you want to be able to find a way. And the real key for all of us is, why should I come to your neighborhood, your business?
Right.
That's the real goal. And when you do, truthfully, you'll own them. But Facebook is growing not only so big, but it's just like, it's the kind of thing where I don't really think most people lose it. But in the end game at Facebook, you're going to get people liking your page or following you, and they're going to charge you money to get to all of them. That's never a long-term business model. Just ask anybody in business. It's insane.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. So, I mean, when you're facing some of that, you want to make sure that you do an event where you do Facebook stuff, but you focus on pages over your site, your landing pages, your contests and stuff. I don't even like doing contests on Facebook, frankly.
Okay.
I want to do them on my site. But again, that's just my bias.
Yep.
So.
Fantastic. Okay, man. Well, we're right on time right now. So before we go, though, give yourself a plug. Tell people where can they find you, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah. My name's Declan Dunn, DECLANDUNN, and go to declandunn.com, as well as Dunn Direct Media. That's DUNN, directmedia.com. And you can see some cool projects. We're actually doing a crowdfunding project, and one called we're doing a group crowd gifting behavior this Christmas that you might find interesting, how to organize people to do group buying on the internet.
Fantastic. Cool, man. Well, thanks for your time. And yeah, thanks for coming on.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you want to discover more insider tips, tricks, and secrets about driving sales with email marketing, sign up for daily email tips from the autoresponder guy. Go to dropdeadcopy.com/podcast. Sign up, confirm your email address, and I'll send you daily emails on how to improve your email marketing and make more sales via email. You'll find out why open rates don't matter and the 7-letter word that underlies all effective marketing and much more.